Good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning. Sun's coming pouring through the window. It's great and it's wonderful to be with you this morning. And as always, thank you for joining us for our Bible talk for today. May I remind you that we have lots of services in church this weekend at St. Bart's and St. Anne's, and we'd love to see you, and you'd be very, very welcome to come and join us for worship in person. Anyway, we are in Psalm 129. Just to remind you of the context of the psalm, there are five what's called books of amongst the 150 psalms, and we are in book 5. And Psalms 120 to 134 are what's called songs of ascents, which means songs of going up, songs that were used by pilgrims on their pilgrimage to Jerusalem. And Psalm 129 is a relatively short one. It's only 8 verses long, so I shall read it to you now. Psalm 129. Often have they attacked me from my youth. Let Israel now say, often have they attacked me from my youth, yet they've not prevailed against me. The ploughers ploughed on my back, they've made their furrows long. The Lord is righteous, he has cut the cords of the wicked. May all who hate Zion be put to shame and turn backwards. Let them be like grass on the housetops, that withers before it grows up, with which reapers do not fill their hands, or binders of sheaves their arms. While those who pass by do not say, the blessing of the Lord be upon you. We bless you in the name of the Lord. And this is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Okay, let's say from the beginning, this is an unusual psalm. It's not a well-known one. It's not one of the more popular ones. So it reads slightly oddly to us. One thing about it, which is why it's unpopular, is because it comes across as slightly vengeful, and the fancy theological term is imprecatory. Okay, what we're talking about, what you want God to do to the enemies, and they come across that they don't read easily to us today. In fact, in the old alternative service book, they used to have psalms, bits of psalms like this used to be in brackets, so you could sort of miss them out if you wanted to. And personally, I think that is an enormous shame because one of the great things about the Psalms is their brutal honesty, and I like that. And the fact that, don't we all feel like that sometimes? And the fact that it acknowledges the true stresses and strains of life. And one of the things I really love about the Psalms is that they don't brush over problems, but they actually face the fact that difficulties in life happen, and that we all have feelings like that, don't we? The other thing to say about Psalm 129 uses lots of what you might call agricultural analogy. So you've got ploughs, you've got sheaves, you've got grass, and so on. So you've got lots of kind of agricultural analogies here. And of course, don't forget that it was used by pilgrims. So at the end, when it says, while those who pass by do not say, the blessing of the Lord be upon you. So you can almost imagine people working in the fields. And pilgrims go on the way to Jerusalem. And some fields, they'll kind of bless them on the way past, and these fields they don't, if you see what I mean. So you've got pictures here from agriculture, and you've got pictures from pilgrimage as well. You can always imagine groups of pilgrims going by, and how they, some places they say we'll pray for you, and obviously here they don't in quite the same way. So you've got an unusual psalm here with some pretty brutal, honest talking, and you've got lots of agricultural pictures in here too. Generally speaking, it's split into two sections, verses 1 to 4 and verses 5 to 8. Verses 1 to 4 is about the actions of the enemies, and verses 5 to 8 are kind of what we want God to do about it, what you want to happen as a result of that. So 1 to 4 is about the kind of action of the enemies, and verses 5 to 8 are kind of what the psalmist or the psalmist people want God to do about it. So let's do 1 to 4 first. Let me say from the beginning, 1 to 4 is very much, it reads like a response, like what you might call liturgical response, a bit like a response like you might get in church. Like if I say, the Lord be with you, and everyone says, and also with you, or something like that. So you've got, often they have attacked me from my youth, is the open response. Now may Israel say, in other words, this is the response of the people, often they have attacked me from my youth, and have kind of not prevailed against me. So do you see what I mean? So you've got the cantor, if you like, or the person at the front who makes the response, and now let Israel say, so all the people will say, they kind of respond to it. So what's he saying? Often have they attacked me from my youth, is what the guy says, and the people respond in kind. Often have they attacked me from youth, yet they've not prevailed against me. And again, I think what is kind of I like about this, as I've already said, is the fact that it doesn't blush over the fact that difficulties happen in life. You know, that's actually the chap is saying here that he's had his enemies, and it's been hard. The ploughers have ploughed my back, and they've made my furrows long. I mean, this is a picture of quite a cruel picture here of what's going on. And so he's acknowledging the fact that we've been through this, and all the people are saying, yes, that's absolutely true. So he's acknowledging the fact that he's had difficulties. And I think it's actually right that we in church do the same thing too. I think sometimes when we present the gospel, it can come across like kind of come to Jesus and, you know, all your problems are going to float away. It's going to be easy. But that's not how it works. What the psalmist is saying here is the acknowledging, often have they attacked me from my youth, yet they have not prevailed against me. The ploughs have plowed my back, they've been my furrows long. The Lord is righteous. He has cut the cords of the wicked. So on the one hand, he's acknowledging the fact that difficulties happened, but he's also acknowledging the fact that whilst difficulties have happened, they have not prevailed. And the Lord has cut the cords of the wicked. So essentially it's saying, it's not saying there aren't going to be problems of life. Of course there are. And actually when we present the gospel today, we need to acknowledge that too. Being a Christian does not absolve us from the problems, the stresses and strains of life. You know, Christian people die, Christian people get ill, Christian people have difficulties at work, and so on, and so on, and so on. And actually sometimes in our Christian life, we can encounter more difficulties because we often have the courage to stand up for what is right. Because we stand for our risen Lord Jesus Christ, at a time when it's not fashionable to do so. And that's not easy. And of course, parts of the world where they encounter it considerably more than we do, and who need our prayers as we need theirs, I think, as well. So acknowledge it's not saying we're not going to have problems in life. He says we are have problems in life, and they're absolutely upfront about it, but it's saying the Lord, that they have not prevailed against us, you know, that if you like, things are being thrown at us, but actually in God's strength, God has cut the cords of the wicked, and the problems have not prevailed against us. So it's saying, yes, there will be problems in life, but they won't prevail against us, and God is bigger than our problems. That's what it's saying. You know, yes, life is tough, but we have a God who's bigger and a God who acts. So that's what verses 1 to 4. And I think there's something really important today in the way that we present the gospel. We need to be real and about life, life the way it is, but that's saying, you know, yes, we encounter all the same problems and sometimes more, but we have a God who's bigger. And that's really, really important to acknowledge that. Then in verses 5 to 8 is what the psalmist really wants God to do about it, or what God wants to happen to the enemies. So he says, may all who hate Zion be put to shame and turn backward, and so on. Let them be like grass on the housetops that withers, that grows up, and blah, 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 and so on. And the interesting here is because the verb used is ambiguous. It could say a couple of things. It could be a prayer that may happen. It could be read like that in Hebrew. It can also be a statement of confidence that is what is going to happen. It's a bit ambiguous. They're not quite sure. Hebrew, I'm not a Hebrew scholar, I don't know any Hebrew at all, but as I understand it, it could be read in two ways. It could either be a prayer that this is what happens, please God, would you do such and such, or it could be a confident, this is what is going to happen because we've got faith in God. And notice here a couple of things. Firstly, this is not a personal thing. This is a community thing. That actually, this isn't just one person lamenting his own enemies, if you like. This is a community that have got together and are praying together about the issues that they together face. This is the call of a community, not an individual. And actually, one thing we've lost, I think, in church often is the ability to lament together. You know, the ability to get together to actually pray together about things. And I think we need to, you know, there's something very special in that. This is a community thing. But also, in a sense, what they've done here with their feelings about the enemies, is they brought it to God and they've let God deal with it. So they haven't, if you like, they haven't actually picked up their, I don't know, the spears and the chariots and things and gone on with it. Actually, what they've done is that they have prayer, whether it's a prayer of confidence, whether it's a prayer that God's going to do something here. They've they are what they are. What the thing they are definitely doing is rather than, in a sense, getting their swords and their chariots and their spears out, what they are doing is bringing their issues to God, and that's something we need to do too. So, an unusual psalm, this one full of honest and straight talking, one which tells us that in our Christian life and in our presentation of the gospel, we need to acknowledge the fact that life is tough. But that, and things with an enemy, we will have enemies. Not everyone's going to like us for it. But because we have a God who's bigger, they will not prevail against us, and the Lord will act. And secondly, it's either a prayer or a statement of confidence that God will deal with it. But that as a community, we can bring our things to God, and we should pray more together about things. But also, we should bring our issues to God and trust God that God knows what he's doing and is with us through them. Put it like that, it's a good psalm, isn't it? Bless you, my friends. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you so much for watching. As I say, do please do share these messages so other people can enjoy them too. Have a lovely weekend, enjoy the sunshine, and on Monday, Psalm 130, another